For years you were told a simple story, almost reassuring in how neat it was. Cholesterol builds up in your arteries the way limescale clogs a pipe, and sooner or later that pipe closes. If you want to avoid disaster, lower your cholesterol. Full stop. It is a comfortable story because it shrinks an enormous problem down to a single number you can watch. But the reality inside your body is richer, more alive, and in a way more hopeful than that. Because if cholesterol were the only culprit, one stubborn fact would make no sense at all, a fact that has been quietly embarrassing the field for decades. A large share of the people who land in hospital with a heart attack arrive with perfectly normal levels of so-called bad cholesterol. Hold on to that, because it is exactly where this chapter begins. I want to shift your gaze with me. Cholesterol does matter, there is no doubt about that. But around that molecule there is a real engine made of 3 gears that turn together: chronic inflammation, sugar, and that silent condition called insulin resistance. When these 3 run badly, the artery does not simply clog like a pipe. It inflames, it gets irritated, it grows fragile from within. And cholesterol in all of this looks more like the firefighter who shows up at the blaze than the arsonist who started it. Let us begin with inflammation because it is the key word. Picture a small wound on the inner wall of an artery caused by high blood pressure, by smoking, by a life lived under stress. The body, a diligent healer, sends its repair cells there, and to that very spot the cholesterol particles arrive too, not because they are wicked, but because they are part of the rescue team. The trouble starts when that fire never goes out. An inflammation that smolders under the ashes, year after year, turns a simple repair into an unstable plaque. It is an idea that many researchers take more and more seriously, yet this remains a line of research still in motion, and on many of the details the evidence is still being debated. Some studies suggest that acting directly on inflammation may matter, but we are in the territory of promising hypotheses, not certainties. A modest truth is worth more than a glittering promise. Then come the sugars, and here the story touches you closely because it runs straight through your plate. For decades the appointed enemy was fat. Meanwhile, as we stripped fat out of our food, we filled ourselves with sugars and refined flours, often without noticing. Every time you eat something very sweet, your blood fills with glucose, and the pancreas answers with insulin, the hormone that puts that fuel away. Once in a while, no problem at all. Your body is built for it. But if it happens over and over, morning, afternoon, and evening, for years, something begins to jam. And here we reach the most cunning gear of all, insulin resistance. It is as if your cells, after years of hearing insulin knock too loudly and too often, simply stopped opening the door. The pancreas then raises its voice, makes even more insulin, and that silent excess does damage everywhere. It feeds inflammation, it changes the way the body handles the fats in your blood, it sets the stage for diabetes. And here comes a figure that, by contrast, is solid, well-verified, and well-documented. A large analysis published in the journal Lancet in 2010, led by Satter, pooled 13 studies, and more than 91,000 people followed for about 4 years. It found that those taking statins had a risk of developing type 2 diabetes higher by roughly 9%. A real effect, but a modest one. In concrete terms, you would need to treat around 250 people for one extra case to appear over 4 years. This is no cause for alarm, but proof of how tangled these threads are. A drug designed for one problem brushes against another gear of the very same engine. What should you do with all of this? Not use it as an excuse to ignore cholesterol, and certainly not as a pretext to change on your own what your doctor has prescribed. One point stands firm and deserves to be perfectly clear. No one should stop a medicine by themselves, and where statins genuinely help after a heart attack, in someone with familial hypercholesterolemia, in secondary prevention, the evidence in their favor is robust and must not be underestimated. The wider frame erases none of this, it enriches it. What I want to leave you with is a new and more powerful view of your own fate. Because if cardiovascular risk grows out of inflammation, sugar, and insulin resistance too, then you hold in your hands far more levers than you imagined. Not a single number to chase, but a whole way of living to work on, day after day, calmly. How you move your body, what you put on your plate, how much you sleep, how much stress you carry, all of it speaks directly to that engine. It is not magic, and it is right to stay cautious about what science has truly demonstrated. But it is a freedom that the old story of the clogged pipe never once granted you. And it is from here, from this idea that you can do something with your own hands and your own choices, that the next step of our journey begins. In the chapter ahead, we will get concrete about the plate, what the research really says about what you eat,